Welcome back to Ringfreaks channel. I am Ignas and our channel is all about life around the Nürburgring, about building race cars and of course driving them in the track. So if you're interested, don't forget to subscribe. And today we have for a Ringtool review this BMW E36 325, a true 90s legend. This car is BMW E36 325 back from 1995. It has 2.5 engine with about 190 horsepower and it weighs 1,200 kilos with full fuel tank without a driver. So from the outside, this E36 is nothing too special. It has the M Sport bumpers and that's all. But what is special about that, it has the Calypso rod color. And most of you, I believe, myself as well, are used to see them all faded out like this. And this one is freshly repainted, so that's how these cars should have looked 30 years ago. Also, what I want to mention about the E36s, so the designer team of the E30, E34 and other classic BMWs were mostly the same for E36 as well. However, one guy from Hong Kong, Pinky Lai, was introduced to the team and probably he came up with new ideas like with the front square lights and other features you see on the E36. And in the beginning I have lied a little bit for you. This is actually not a 3-5 version of the car, this is 3-3. So BMW discontinued 3-5 version and then we released 3-3 version and 3-8. So 3-8 had 2.8 engine, but 2.3 version had actually real 2.5 engine just with a smaller intake manifold. So if you take the 3-3 model with the 2.5 engine, you replace the intake manifold from the old good 2.5, you actually have the same 2.5 engine with the same power, but you have a very big benefit. When you have a 3-3, the same engine, 2.5 engine, comes with aluminium block, which is about 20-30 kilos lighter than the cast iron block. So you could convert the real 3-3 to the same power as 3-5, just with a bit lighter front. And you know why this car is so special? Because your right leg through the gas pedal is still connected to the engine by the gas cable. Yes, this is the last BMW which still had the manual gas pedal, because later on BMW moved with the electric ones. So once you're pressing the gas pedal, you really feel how the throttle body opens and you have that connection with the car. Suspension in this E36 is BC coilovers. They're revolved for the Nordschleife, but because the car is pretty light, the same suspension with a bit softer springs is working pretty well in GP tracks too, so it's a very universal suspension. It feels comfortable, it can eat up all the bumps and jumps in the Nordschleife and still work pretty well in GP track. The brake system is completely original. We use here the Hock DTC 60 brake pads. We have a good bite and we never fail, so it's definitely a good decision, and 17-inch wheels. What is very interesting in the front suspension in E36, I would say, that the front suspension is very similar to BMW E30, just it has different hub and different bottom mount of the coilover. And there is a huge benefit of the E36, because if you put some shims under the two bottom mounts of the coilover, you can get more camber almost for free and just like in 10 minutes. So it's like BMW was thinking probably that people will need more camber in the front, so they just made this design. Genius. And inside of this car you already see that we have the full VIA roll cage. And it makes this car safe, because to be honest, cars from 90s were not the safest, and once you add the better suspension, better grippier tires, your speed increases, and when if you don't have a cage in 90s car, it's definitely a deadly combination. Also, the cage is connected with the rear axle, which reinforces the top mounts and also reinforces the mounts for the rear subframe. Because everybody knows that E36 has this issue of the cracking mounts for the rear subframe, so this is sorted here with the cage mounts. Apart from that, this car also comes with all the FIA safety equipment like racing seats, 6-point harness, racing steering wheel, Rally Group A short shifter, and other features. So it's not only a track tool just for like track days or tourist drives, but it also a real race car which could go racing. In front of the car, because it's a proper track tool, we already have a towing hook in the front, so it's ready for racing or track days. As well, we have the aero catch mounts for easy access to the engine bay, and in the front grills we have the metal mesh to protect the radiator, because sometimes when you're driving in the track day or racing, the stone chips are flying from the cars in the front, and we are just cracking the front headlights, also the front windshield, and we can crack your radiator. And if you did not notice that in time, well, your engine is probably overheating by the time and it's gone. Now let's talk about the rear suspension. And the E36 had a huge leap in the rear suspension compared to the E30, because it had partly multi-link suspension, so it already comes with the 3 links in the back, so it's much easier to adjust camber and to do alignment in the back. In the rear brakes we use the original brake discs, and there is also one benefit, because this is 3-to-3 version and not 3-to-5. 3-to-3 version had thicker ventilated rear discs, however diameter was the same as 3-to-5, so it's again one benefit why 3-to-3 version is a bit better than 3-to-5. In the rear suspension, the spring is on the coilover. Well, it's easier to adjust the suspension this way. If you want to do this modification, you must strengthen the top mounts of the chassis, because originally the spring was separate from the coilover and the top mounts were not used to have such load there. Now it's time to take this car for a small ride just to see how it feels. And the first thing already I can notice that this car has a key, and that's all what you need to drive. And it doesn't matter if you drive it on the street or you drive it in the track, you just put the key in, you start the car, and that's all. There is no more buttons, there is no stability control, there is no gearbox setting to set before entering one or the other track. It's so simple and so beautiful compared to the modern new cars, where you really need to set everything up just before driving it. And to have a manual gearbox with this short shifter feels so good. When you are shifting the gears, you really feel like how you push the gear into the next gear in the gearbox. It's so amazing. Like, this car doesn't sound too good because it needs to be street legal, so it has a catalytic converter and original back box, but it makes also this car more versatile because it's quiet. It can drive any track around, because like in track Zolder, the sound limit is 96 decibels, so if you have a bit louder back box, it's already over the limit. And because this is such an old school car, the driving feeling is amazing, because you have no assistance and nothing between you and the car, so it's just you and the car. And when you are steering, you feel that you are steering the car. When you are pressing the gas, you feel how you open that throttle body. When you are shifting gears, you feel how you shift the gear in the gearbox. It's amazing. The brakes are really good. The brakes are very good. These Hog DTC 60 pads is very awesome. You don't need to warm them up, and they have this initial bite very good immediately, and also they last, so it's definitely a good choice. Let's also try how fast is this car. Oh, you have more sound a bit when you go to 6,000 RPMs. Okay, so it's not so slow as it feels from like 190 horsepower, but maybe at higher speeds it's not so fast. And if you have a passenger, you definitely feel that the passenger weight reduces your car performance. And all in all, this car is amazing. It's not too fast, but it's very versatile. It's really nice just to have fun with it in the track. However, I don't want to put your hopes too much. If you are a rookie driver, or you have never driven the cars without any traction control or with the manual gearbox, this is not an easy car to drive. You really need to drive it, because there is nothing between you and the car which will save your ass. So yeah, so it's definitely not a novice car, even it's quite slow, but it's definitely a driver's car. And for the end of the video, we have a Ringtool score. and we have 5 groups, and each group I will evaluate from 1 to 5, where 1 is worst, 5 is best. And the bigger the total score is, the better the car is for the track. And the first group is looks. And for me, this E36 in the Calypso rod color, when the color is fresh and just freshly repainted, it looks really awesome. And also it doesn't have any tuning parts, so it definitely gives you this classic feeling of the car. However, maybe personally I would add also the rear spoiler. Maybe it will look a bit more sporty. So the looks are 4 out of 5 for this car. The second group is price. So the price to buy this car. And such ring tools cost around 20 to 30,000 euros, and it's quite a good price, let's say, especially when you think that the normal proper E36, the original car without much rust, already is costing from 10 to 15,000 euros. This ring tool, if it costs around 20 to 30,000 euros, it's definitely a good base start to drive the track. So the price is 4 out of 5. The third group is speed. And to be honest, this car has just 190 horsepower. It's an older car, it's not so fast to today's standards. So the speed is 2 out of 5. The fourth group is emotion. So it's a little bit different from the speed, because it doesn't matter how fast you drive, but it matters how do you feel when you're driving this car. And this car, without stability control, with the manual gearbox, with everything so analog here, it feels definitely great. And me personally, when I grew up on these E36s, it's like 5 out of 5 without a question. And the last group is wear. So it's about wear and tear on the car. And it has 1,200 kilos, it has 190 horsepower, so it's both not heavy and not so powerful car. So it definitely is easy car on brakes, easy on tires, so you don't have so much consumables. However, because it's already 30 years old car, you will have to maintain some things and to change some parts more often compared to if you buy the new car. So it's cheap to run, but you have to spend some time and money on maintenance on the older parts. So the wear and tear on this car is 3 out of 5. Here is the total score of this ring tool. I hope you enjoyed this video, and by the way, this car, fully street legal, is for sale. So if you're interested in buying this car, just contact me, don't hesitate. All questions will be answered, and I hope to see you next week with the next video. See you next time. Thank you for watching.